Born in Iowa, raised in Oklahoma, and a Texas resident for 20 years, musician Kory Cook earned his bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from Oklahoma State University. Kory served as assistant music director at KUT-FM in Austin, Texas for 7 years, and is now currently the music director and chief announcer at Jazz 91.7 FM, KRTU in San Antonio. Kory is also an instructor in the communications department at Trinity University. His parents, Victor and Kathy Cook, former members of 60s organ and drum duo Pebbles and Bam Bam, raised him to be a musician. Since his teens, Kory has performed with countless musicians, including psychedelic rock pioneer Roky Erickson, songwriter I heard a little woo out there for Roky, right? Songwriter Todd Snyder, the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, and San Antonio's own Sons of Hercules. Today, you can hear Kory performing with local artists Royal Punisher, We Leave at Midnight, Mockingbird Express, Dark Plains, and his own project, The Whale, among other jazz and improvising musicians. How many days in the week does this guy have? You can also hear Kory host a daily jazz program, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. live on Jazz 91.7. Please welcome to the stage, Kory Cook.
Whew. Okay, so this is just going to be a short little snippet of my life. Okay, so I've been able to marriage? Yeah, I'm not married. I'm actually a very proud bachelor. Married journalism and reporting and radio with music. So I'm actually very grateful for the city of San Antonio for giving me that opportunity to do that. And it's been a kind of an insane journey, but we're just going to have a little trip here. So take the trip with me. Let's do this. Okay, so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Victor Cook and Kathy DeBont. Pebbles and Bam Bam. Okay? They took the Midwest by storm. They had a tune called the Harlem Shuffle. Actually, it wasn't their tune, but they did a version of the Harlem Shuffle, and it was amazing. And really, my mom was the musician, though. She sings harmony to every single song she knows, right? So those vocalists in the audience know that when you hear somebody singing harmony all the time and they don't sing the melody, they just sing the harmony, it sounds like they're singing the wrong note. And so she does that all the time. My mom is amazing. But well, I think that's why I like jazz, because when I hear like players play the wrong note, I'm like, yes, that's where it's at. Okay, so there's my mom on the keys. She's got like the hip. Actually, she was a basketball player, so that's her jersey there. Well, you're not going to see pictures of my family this whole time, I promise. But that is a small keyboard. She's actually known for her Hammond B3 organ playing, because she was actually they called her the Black Magic Woman, thanks to Carlos Santana. That was after 1969. That's the late Kenneth DeBont, all right? He taught me how to fish, how to shoot a gun, how to drive a John Deere tractor, how to drive a Chevy truck, how to bale hay. He taught me how to, but most importantly, he taught me that any job that you have is you're never too good for any job, right? So we shoveled shit out of the barn. We did a lot of corn shucking, right? You get your hands all cracked and bled. Well, then I was ready to play the guitar. That's a 1966 Dakota Red Fender Mustang. Before Kurt Cobain and all that crap messed up punk rock, that's the Mustang. All right, so me and my brother in that same room made the Gore Tape. The Gore Tape was a sequence of the most goriest, most brutal, most gruesome scenes of all films you can imagine. 6 straight hours on VHS of gore. And one of the films was Taxi Driver. So I want to just take a moment. Those of you, have you seen Taxi Driver? Who hasn't seen Taxi Driver? Oh, good. Oh, man. Okay, well, this is for you. Directed by Martin Scorcese. There he is with Robert De Niro. And Paul Schrader wrote the script. Robert De Niro stars in 1976. It's the story of a shy, lonely, depressed man who lives all by himself in New York City. He drives around the city, and he says, this is the most disgusting place in the world. Somebody needs to clean this place up, right? So he meets Sybil Shepherd. That's my first on-screen love. I've never met her, but I'm still looking for Sybil Shepherd somewhere. She's a mayoral campaign manager in New York, right? So he meets her. He realizes that he's going to free her from her meaningless job, and so he takes her out for coffee, and then they end up at a Swedish sex education film, as all coffee dates end up at. And then he meets Jodie Foster, because that date didn't work out too well. Jodie Foster is a runaway prostitute, and so he decides he's going to save Jodie Foster, because that's his purpose, that's his meaning. And so he goes after the pimps and all the guys who have Jodie Foster held captive in the jungles of New York City. So he goes, this is the most amazing shot. I love this. Let's just look at De Niro for a little bit. Okay, so Taxi Driver. Well, actually, this last shot is better. It's Iris on the couch, and he blasts the guy in the head, and he kills the pimps. The point is that, you know, as much as we want to believe that he was a psychopath, and, you know, I have no intentions of getting a gun and killing pimps and saving prostitutes, but the whole idea was he finds meaning in life, right? He finds his purpose. He's a savior. He does something for the universe, right? That's awesome. Wow. So my first two loves were Sybil Shepherd and Jodie Foster. It actually had nothing to do with this film. So there's New York City. I'm like, I want to go to New York City, and not because I don't like guns. I've never actually owned a gun in my entire life. That's actually not what New York City really looks like either, right? They tell us it's this glamorous, beautiful place. It's dark and dank, and it's a cesspool, and it's glorious. So Leroy's the first guy I meet when I go to New York City. He's an angel. He's got wings. I can see the outline of his wings. I'm not kidding. I'm not a religious man. I don't subscribe to any sort of sacred school of thought. But Leroy Clouden has wings, okay? He's on a bicycle. He comes up to me. He says, Kory Cook, what are you doing with your life? He starts talking to me. He's basically telling me everything about my life before I even know I'm just amazed that this man knows. He knows my situation. He says, Kory, you need to go back to Texas. What are you going to do, put your drums on the subway? Go back to Texas, tell these people what they need to do with their life. And musically speaking. Go back to Texas. Give them something they don't have, right? So I decided I better go back to Texas. Oh, Sons of Frank Puglisi. By the way, how many of y'all know Frank? Characters. We're talking about your life is not a movie, but it's the characters that you meet. Frank Puglisi is one of my favorite characters in the entire universe. And this is at Beerland, somewhere in Central Texas. And this is we had like 5 bass players, by the way. Okay, this man made me quit my job. I worked for a conservative news talk station in Austin, Texas. News Radio 590 KLBJ is an awful place. They spread right-wing propaganda like you wouldn't believe. Anyway, so I said, I have to leave. And the reason why is because he actually thanked me on the air for booking some juror on the Tom DeLay case. I said, no more. That's Rush Limbaugh. That's what he talks about. Well, that goes back to my grandpa. My grandpa said, no job is too good for you. You're not too good for any job. And so I shoveled some more shit. And that's beautiful. You know, horse manure is amazing. There's so many things you can do with horse manure. Let's just look at that. Okay, so Charles Lloyd. So I meet Charles Lloyd. I've talked to him on the phone several times. I've got to interview him thanks to Jazz Radio and getting the opportunity to talk to these guys. He's a shaman. He's a beautiful man. He's a warrior. That's what we're talking about, a tender warrior. And I'm not talking about the tender warriors that you read about in those motivational books that are available at Barnes & Noble. I'm talking about true warrior for music, right? He says, Kory, if you're going to play music, Brian Blade, woo! He can express himself and send just massive amounts of positive energy through the drums and through music. He's a warrior, right? He's a tender warrior once again. People who say, my purpose in music is not, for fun and girls and drugs and all this stuff. It's to find a purpose. So I end up at Salute when I come to San Antonio. Azeneth Dominguez, all right? She's the owner of Salute. She says, Kory, she welcomed me into the family. She says, Kory, you can do anything you want at Salute. So I played music there. I met people that were like Leroy Clouden. I met people like Charles Lloyd. I saw 2 women at the bar. One looked like Sybil Shepherd. The other one looked like Jodie Foster. I said, I don't want to talk to them. And so then I even met a guy that looked like Leroy Clouden again. He's laying down the funk just like Leroy would talk about. And there's so many other things I want to talk about. But what I really just want to let you know is that I really appreciate you all being here. And I really appreciate the fact that I get that opportunity to express myself with music and with art. And at the same time, I can realize that, when it comes to music, again, it's really about finding your purpose. What in the world am I doing? Music is so strange and so weird. It's just like this thing you grab a hold of and then you play and you're like, what? So, thank you for coming and enjoying whatever it is that I do. All right.
You keep this one. You keep that one, yeah. Okay, good. So, what are some of the things you can do with horse manure? No, seriously.
I mean, I know it relates to the chef. It relates to what Lori was talking about with the urban farming. You can...
Yeah. What I really want to ask you, though, was there ever a job, though, that you had? Did you ever have a job and you're like, you know what, I might be too good for this job? That really spurred you to...
Well, we'll start with the horse shit, but I think then there was this place called Grandy's. It's a fast food place. And I remember these frat guys would come and throw chicken all over the floor, and then I'd have to clean it up before I got off work. That really sucked.
That was totally good prep for right-wing radio.
Yeah.
For working at the right-wing radio station, yeah.
But no, actually, it was probably KLBJ because, I came to realize that if I'm going to work at this talk radio station, it's amazing the propaganda that started in the early 90s, and some people are like, whatever, propaganda. But, I mean, it's insane how
this crowd is not like that.
The fact is that media has come today to where I really believe that it's all satirical. Like, your best sources of news are actually kind of like the joke news sources, right? Like The Onion and guys like Jon Stewart and Colbert. And you can't take anybody seriously because all they do is fight with each other, and it's a silly thing. So getting out of AM talk radio news was the best thing I ever did. Quit your job. Just quit your job. If you don't like it, quit. Yes.
So let's talk about jazz for a sec before I let you go and let the amazing PechaKucha folks come back. Yeah. But so here's my question. If people are new to San Antonio, right, and they don't know about San Antonio's interesting and amazing jazz history, what's a great place to start with that? A little bit of San Antonio jazz education, yeah.
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, if you can... Well, luckily, there's a new spot opening up that kind of takes the place of the Landing. Jim Colum was one of the better-known jazz musicians around town. They had the Landing on the Riverwalk, and that closed down. I actually walked in to get my check one day from a gig I played on the patio, and it was black. And I'm like, what happened? That's how I found out. And it was like $40 or something. It's jazz, right? But Jazz Texas is opening up, I think, at the Pearl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's like the new thing. So going back to the history, I got to say you got to go to the West Side. You got to find the West Side Horns. You got to go to the Almost Pharmacy Jam, and some of our events that we had. I don't want to promote. I wasn't here to promote the radio station, but we have some amazing events with KRTU Jazz 91.7 FM. So become a member. Listener-supported radio. 60% of the operating budget. No. Okay.
Yeah, and we can find you there. Weekdays, is it 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.? You're live?
Yeah, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
91.7. And where do we see you play live next?
Well, it's next gig. What is today? August 23rd. September 3rd, 24th? I have a gig September 1st too, but I really can't remember where they are. No. All right.
Maybe there's a website where we could check out your dates.
I have a show this weekend.
Quit your jobs, y'all. Quit your
Austin,
jobs.
But it's with
you can see them anytime. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't have a website. Yeah. If there's any website developers, yeah.
You'll let us know when we
Believe it or not, I'm a horrible self-promoter, too. That's another thing. I'm amazed.
I think you're doing okay.
I don't like the Facebook and the Instagram and the thing, and it's all weird. I don't like it.
Aw,
I'm
Kory.
old. Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You were good. That was great. Give it up for Kory Cook, y'all.
Thank you.
91.7, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., Monday through Friday.